All right, y'all. Welcome to another episode. In previous episodes, we've been talked a bit about manhood, womanhood, and that particularly led us into talking about family, husbands, wives, that sort of thing, which then kind of brought up the whole concept of dating as
Yes.
we fly the plane of this podcast as it's being built.
Yes.
Um, so I think last episode, we talked about dating. I remember us touching on guys being intentional,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And then that kind of raised the reality of just what is the dating, what is getting married? Because when I say the word dating, that's kind of how I define it, like
Yeah.
just getting married, the
Yes.
process of getting married.
Yes.
What are the cultural challenges? I think a good thing to us address a little bit is like cultural challenges in America, because I see a lot. I think about it quite a bit, especially raising four boys,
Mm-hmm.
having nephews and nieces who are a season ahead in high school and late high school, and so watching kind of their life navigating certain things, and college and all that kind of stuff. And I think there's a lot of kind of new trends or conversations, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
about just the cultural system of kids growing up into being adults.
Yeah.
And I think it presents particular problems, challenges for getting married. So I'm going to lay out what I think the current cultural state of like people getting married and having kids is in America. And then I'm going to throw it to you
Yeah.
to say, why do you think this is? Here's what I see
Yeah. Go.
across the landscape in general. I have seen and heard more and more and more, and it seems to continue to be trending in this direction to a degree. Um, that marriage in general, not that big of a deal, um, and definitely wait. Like you need to essentially live your whole life, YOLO. You need to live your one life you're given, experience everything you want to experience, do everything you want to do. That includes things like a career, establish your career, get deep into your career, um, whatever you do when you're single, I guess travel,
Right.
have fun,
Right.
drink cocktails, whatever.
Uh-huh.
Do all of that and then get married. And so what I've
Mm-hmm.
seen is that it's really pushed back, even if you do value marriage,
Right.
people seem culturally across the board to be very okay with and even purposefully getting married much later.
Yeah.
Like it seems like culturally gone are the days when you get married in your early 20s.
Yeah.
Now, I think I mentioned this one time, you'll hear podcasters who are like 45, they'll have a guest on and be like, "Do you want to get married and have kids?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I want to get married and have kids and have a family." And I'm like, man, like
Right.
you,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
um, so, but good for them. Like if they
Sure.
do, don't get me wrong. It's like I'd be like, yeah, do it.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm saying that is because they almost bring it up as though their whole life is still ahead of
Mm.
them. And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, you're like past the age of when a lot of people historically would be dead.
Yeah.
And so what is that? That's what I see. I see this like we're pushing back marriage, and even when you do value it, you're like, yeah, I got my whole life ahead of me. I'm only 48, and like maybe one day I'll get married and have kids. That sounds like great. Um, Pushing that back, definitely pushing back having kids, if ever having kids. Now, I'll throw it to you to say, why is that? What could be going on? I will say I have
Mm.
seen a bit more trending, I think, swinging back,
Yeah. I have too.
because you see it
I have too.
in where do you see it culturally? Like you'll see it with particularly young celebrities
Mm.
you look at like a guy like Justin Bieber,
Mm-hmm.
who he had, quote unquote, culturally speaking, the greatest single life ever. All the money he could ever want, as a guy, all the women he could ever want,
Mm-hmm.
fame, like everything, right? Then all of a sudden, like as I don't know how old he is now, but all of a sudden he's just like, comes out and he's like, I want to get married and have kids. Like that seems like the greatest life ever, right? Um,
Mm.
and then you see it even with other young people, this kind of trend back towards really saying like marriage seems awesome, having kids seems awesome.
Yeah.
So culturally we do seem like we're kind of swinging back and realizing
Yeah. I
that
agree.
it's an empty pipe dream to say you'll be very satisfied with a career and total single independence.
Yeah.
I think people are realizing like, oh, this isn't actually fulfilling at all.
Yeah.
And I know Justin Bieber clearly publicly would say
Yeah.
the same, like having every woman I could ever want and all the drugs and money I could ever want. was a dark hole. And
Yeah.
I've realized it. And I've realized that it seems really beautiful to have one woman for the rest of my life and have kids.
Mm.
All right.
Yeah.
Why?
Why is that happening?
What's going on? Why? I've got
Gosh.
opinions. You share yours.
Yeah, it feels like I agree with you. It seems like there's a cultural current, and you might not even be aware of it. It's just there, and you get in it, and the next thing you know, it's like like if you were tubing or something, you missed all the stops. Oh, I thought
Mm.
you've passed that stop, you passed that stop, and just by default of getting in that current, you kind of wake up and realize you're really far down the stream, and it wasn't intentional. It wasn't even self-conscious. It's just the current, the cultural current is taking us in this path of everything's later, and life is pushed further and further ahead of more um, being single longer, intentionally being single longer, intentionally accomplishing some things that take a while, a lot longer, and doing it on your own. It seems like the culture pushes us in a being alone and accomplishing certain things um, that that may or may not be helpful. And then next thing you know, you wake up and oh, I'm 45, and I've always wanted to get married and have kids. And I think it's good to note too that the reason why that's good and it's beautiful and true is because God made us and made those that reality, right? Getting married, having kids. And so if that is an aspiration, that's a good thing. And it's not something that you'd be like, oh, that's a selfish thing. Because there has been in the church culture an aspect of that. I kind of grew up with that in this ministry that I was involved in. It was like, you want to get married and have kids, but for the sake of the mission, you delayed it, right? And so I think even today we do it the same thing for the sake of a career, for the sake of your whatever your achievements academically, they're delayed. Why? Ah, why is that? I I don't exactly know, but I wonder uh, if it is just a postponing of what's good and what's beautiful and what's true, and maybe being sold a bag of goods, or maybe it's being oversold. In other words, a career is a great thing, work is a great thing, uh, wanting to matter and do things and have a mission is a great thing. But I do think we maybe have elevated career and performance in your career, quote, success. We've elevated to godlike status. Like that's the most meaningful pursuit of your life, and that's going to give you meaning, and it's going to justify your existence, and it's going to love you and reach the God-shaped, God-sized hole in your soul, like Justin Bieber, right? And it still could be a good thing, just your career and being successful and being independent. But maybe it only has on a scale of 0 to 10 in the way that God packed his glory and goodness and beautifulness and truthfulness into things. It has a 5. And you can only get a 5 out of it, but you're trying to get God out of it. And then you chase it your whole life, and then you get it like a Justin Bieber, and oh no, it's not what I thought. So I think there might be an overselling of that that's happening, and so people are pursuing or have divinized their career, a certain view of success, a certain way of being recognized and appreciated by others, by your accomplishments. I think that happens. Um, yeah, that's my initial thought of why it might be happening. I would say maybe, like, if we're talking to those that know Jesus and are growing up in the church, and I tell this to my kids, and I tell this to young adults, and I say, listen, you're a believer. That's the most like important reality that could ever happen to you. And then they maybe are dating someone, and they know that they're going to get married to that person, and I'd say to them, and now God has brought the most significant relationship that you can have in this life to you right now at this age. uh, that's monumental. So get married. And then you guys can figure out what your mission is, and you can figure out doing life together and figure it out as a team, as opposed to you're a believer, you you found God has brought that person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, but you're going to postpone it for the sake of whatever the cultural current is.
Right.
Well, we need to get more, I need to be more financially secure. And I'm like, no, get married and you can figure that stuff out
Right.
together.
Right. I think thinking of cultural currents you get caught up in, Ben Sass has an incredible book called The Vanishing American Adult. Have you ever read that?
No.
Okay, you need to.
Okay.
Vanishing America, I think it's called The Vanishing American Adult. Ben Sass, who is dying,
Mm-hmm.
sadly, which I'd encourage listeners to go listen to interviews he's doing.
That, which are amazing.
Yeah. But Ben Sass, incredible Christian man, was a senator,
Mm-hmm.
president at, I think, multiple universities. But he wrote a book, and he's a historian by trade, and he's also just loves, I think he's said in a recent interview too, he like loves data and stats, or someone said that about his writing. But his books are just chock full of data, stats, just like, here's what the data shows. So Vanishing American Adult, he makes the case that basically in America, we've lost the concept of a rite of passage
Mm-hmm.
where an adolescent or a child becomes an adult, a boy becomes a man,
Yeah.
a girl becomes a woman. We've lost the rite of passage, and we've leaned into just a prolonged, essentially indefinite adolescent stage. Because if you don't have a rite of passage, then you just stay an adolescent essentially forever.
Yeah.
And um, I think that that's a big
That
thing.
is really good.
If you look at a macro perspective,
Yeah.
just like I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people, and again, kind of tailoring this podcast towards particularly in the church and addressing Christians, is like there probably are a lot of people who go, you're like, do you want to get married? And they're like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. And they don't mean money. They don't mean anything other than like, I don't even know if like I'm an adult,
Mm-hmm.
like, and I've even realized in my own psyche and seeing it in culture that that's a very real thing to
Yeah.
go like nobody ever told me that
You're an adult.
I'm a man
Yeah.
now, or that I'm a woman, that like I'm an adult,
Yeah.
and so like I can do adult things, because on the one hand it's like I've been wanting to get married since I was 12 or whatever, but like I've kind of been waiting for this solidification of my
When do I do that?
soul that
Yeah.
like I can do this adult thing
Right. Right.
called marriage and
Right.
having kids. I think that's a big macro thing. I think practically too, our
Mm.
culture is set up to prolong adolescence. I don't know, chicken or egg first,
Yeah.
but if you think about a child grows up biologically, they start kind of awakening to the opposite sex. They start awakening to the reality of marriage and going
Yeah.
like, oh, I want to get married and
Yeah.
all this sorts of thing as a teenager. Uh, and then basically culturally, we tell them, okay, so you're attracted to the opposite sex. You have a desire from God to get married and have kids. Okay, it's super easy. All you have to do is wait
20
like
years.
15 years. And they're like, what are you talking about? And you're like, well, you've got to finish high school,
Mm-hmm.
like you've got 4 years of high school left. Then you're going to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
And culturally, that's not been a question.
Right.
It's like you have to, you're going to, you must, otherwise you're going to be homeless.
Right.
So, okay, so there's 8 years. I've got 4 years of college. And like, you really can't get married in college because you might not have a job. You're going to be racking up a massive amount of debt, though. So, like, you're going to be just continually going into insane debt while you make no money. Um, but don't worry, because your degree in philosophy, Colin, is going to pay off.
Bro.
And there's going to be an ROI on it. So then you're 8 years in, and then what's happened too, and I think Ben talks about this in his book, adolescence gets prolonged because you talk to seniors in college all over the country, and you go like, "What do you want to do?" And the most common answer in my life is, "I'm not sure." And you're like, "Wow, failed university experience." Like on the responsibility of the university
Yeah.
to go, you had this kid for 4 years
4 years.
in a
Yes.
specific degree,
Yeah.
and they don't know what they want to do.
Yeah.
And maybe even they don't, maybe it's fine to go, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but like they don't even know what their degree, like skill they have to even market, whether they want to do it or not.
So much to say.
So I blame the university. So then what happens? They go to grad school. So you're like, okay, 2, 3, maybe 4 years of that,
More money.
more money, going into debt, going like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if I can get married. I'm not even sure I'm a man or an adult yet. Right. So you get the point.
Yeah.
So you're 28 years old and you're like, I still am trying to figure out like what to do with my life,
Yeah.
you know? And if I'm trying to figure out what to do with my life, how in the world can I marry someone else and help them in their life? And then how
Yes.
in the world could I help shape the lives of 4 little children? So our whole system is set up for failure in that
Yeah.
regard. Um, we said this off air, but the counter to this whole concept of this episode, I guess, is to go like, are we sure we want to let like racking up debt for a degree that many degrees today are worthless in
Yeah.
terms of like career and skills and things like that and serving your neighbor um, in a way that makes you money? Are we sure we want to let that take precedence over like getting married
Right.
and having children? I would much rather, and again, this is which
Mm-hmm.
big preface for me. I know like my oldest, I've got 4 boys. I know my oldest are 9. I know that when they're 17, 16, 18, like right now I can be ideal and
Mm-hmm.
theoretical about this. I
Yeah.
know that when it gets real, like my idealism can get tapered and
Sure.
shaped and moved by different things.
Sure.
I know that generally I'm right on this.
Right.
But my advice to my boys will be 100%. Like, you want to get married, you want to have children. Okay, then like essentially I'm going to be treating you like an adult when you're like 16. If you're driving a car, like, 16, 17 is kind of like going to be their rite of passage.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want them to like be treated like a man while they still live with me so I can kind of
Mm-hmm.
monitor it,
Yeah,
what kind of man they
absolutely.
are, but still
Absolutely.
start giving them that like adulthood life. And I'm gonna be going like, dude, get married.
Yeah.
And if they go like, yeah, but I'm a freshman in college, I'm gonna be like, okay, freaking drop out. If that's is that getting in your way
Yeah.
of marrying Susan, this beautiful young lady who like we want to be our daughter-in-law, then freaking drop out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it's if you put it on paper, you realize how silly it is to go
Yes.
like we've put college and grad school and finding a job over the epic reality of getting married and having kids. Like,
Yes.
get married to have kids. The last thing I'll say, I'll throw it to you, we'll close. The last
Yeah.
thing I'll say too is like I think also like getting married moves your life. Like, here's a big problem is we kids graduate and they go live alone. They're out of mom and dad's house, they go
Yeah.
live alone. They have nothing to lose.
Right.
They can go get wasted and have a one night stand, and they are not coming home
Yep.
and potentially getting caught by mom and
Facing
dad,
anybody.
facing anyone. They have nothing to lose.
Right.
I would much rather my 18-year-old boys,
Mm-hmm.
again, theory,
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather them turn 19 and have a lot to lose
Mm-hmm.
so that when they're they're invited to go do things and whatever, they go like, I could do that,
Mm-hmm.
but it will cost me my marriage.
Yeah.
I would much rather have a 19-year-old whose brain is still developing, yes, have a brain still developing, but at least knows I have a
There's
lot
some
to
restraint.
lose.
Yes.
I
Yes.
have a lot to lose. I would rather him go, and if I don't work and have a job and maintain this job and also think about kids and moving up in how much money I make and retirement, like marriage will do that.
Yeah.
Hey buddy, you're married now. Y'all could
Mm-hmm.
have a kid any minute,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what you're doing. Like, you,
Yep.
you find out you're pregnant. And by the way, that kid will then get married and have kids. So grandkids, have you been thinking about leaving the grandkids money?
Yeah.
I'd rather than my 19-year-old have that much at stake
Yeah.
than like I live alone with nothing to lose.
Mm.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Like the university won't kick me out. Nobody will find out. If I kill this person,
Yeah.
like I just kill them, bury their body. Like I had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Just my
I
conscience to
don't
deal
know.
with,
That's a
which is
good
a lot.
point.
But anyways,
Yes.
those are rambling thoughts. All that to say that I just think as Christians, we need to really go back to the Genesis, leave your father and mother, cling to
Yeah.
your wife.
I
Like that, like the Bible seems to imply that rite of passage seems potentially pretty closely near in
yeah.
timeline to like,
It could happen.
don't leave your mom and dad and live alone.
Right.
And I understand singleness, and we did an episode on that. Like, I get it. That's a whole reality.
Uh-huh.
But in general, if you want to get married, you want to have
Yeah.
kids, leave your father and mother, and like, where's
I think
marriage? Get it.
my final thought in this, bud, would be wholeheartedly agree. Telling I'm constantly telling people that are dating and constantly telling people that are married, you're never really ready. You're
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
going
No,
to be, you
no,
know what I mean?
no.
That it's like if you're waiting for, but this angle is really, really good. I think we can help them feel if there's some sort of rite of passage, some sort of something that you can build into your family or even in a church culture that that you've crossed into manhood and womanhood, that could help them at least mentally, psychologically, spiritually, in terms of being ready for
Yeah.
things, right?
Yeah.
I think we can definitely do that. And then on the other side, I will say, you will never ever feel fully ready, that everything's always by faith, right? So even if you're dating somebody and you're like, I just don't know if I should marry them. I just don't know. I just don't know. And maybe I need to get this set and this set and this set and this set before I do, because I need to get ready. Um, if you do love her and you cannot imagine life without her, you get married because you're never
Yeah.
going to be fully ready.
Yeah.
Never. And then about kids, well, then we need to have this ready and this ready and this
Yeah.
ready and this ready. And it's like, no, you're never going to be ready to have kids. Just have them.
Mhm.
Life, life with God is like Him giving you grace for that day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The Lord's daily prayer, give us this day our daily bread. The manna, if anything, we're learning to be dependent upon God,
Yeah.
and life experience is one of those ways that He's going to help you learn to be dependent upon Him in a
Yeah.
daily way and trust Him in a daily way, and not borrow tomorrow's worries, right?
Right.
I'm never going to be ready. So I do think that I'm never going to be ready. Yeah, you're right. You're never going to be ready. So just do it.
Right. Yeah.
It's as
Yeah.
simple as that.
Yeah.
You love her, marry her. Stop waiting. You're married, have kids.
Right.
Stop trying to get yourself ready. You'll never be ready. You know when you'll
Right.
be ready? When you're dead and you're with Jesus, then you'll
Yeah.
be ready.
Yeah. Yeah. Be a young parent, be a young grandparent,
Yeah.
live to see your great grandkids. I mean, these are just
Mhm.
things like we're not talking about in America. We don't really talk about in the church. I think
I
we should
know.
be like in a big way.
Amen.
So anyway, hopefully this is helpful. We'll keep kind of going on this topic. We got some written on the board, but we're going to kind of keep going down this topic of dating, engagement, uh, being married, young married, early married, first year of marriage, whatever, having no
Mhm.
kids, married with having little kids.
Yeah.
And then we'll really start getting out of what my experience is of, you know, teenagers and
Yeah.
sending kids out of the house,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, seeing your
We'll do
kids
it
get
all.
married.
Yeah.
So that's where I'll keep talking. I'll share a lot of opinions. Uh, but anyway, until then, peace.
Peace.